So we are entering the third day of this kind of crazy week of earnings season, and on Monday we talked about how crazy this week's going to be, and so far, we're into Wednesday and it hasn't disappointed. There's been a lot of different moves happening in the stock market. We're going to talk about what it means for the stock market and where we could potentially be headed going forward after what we've learned so far this week, and some of those stocks that have reported earnings so far and what their suggestion is to the outlook of the economy and to the stock market going forward. So I hope you enjoyed the video. So I'll say straight off my overall opinion. Obviously, normally you'd say your overall opinion towards the end, but I thought, I wanted to kind of you get what my overall thinking is right now when you're going through this situation, or what I'm about to show you is that it's very clear to me at the moment that there's investors, Wall Street are very much still processing what's going on. Like, we've entered earnings season, there's been a lot of crazy stuff that's happening, and Wall Street and investors seem to be very much going, okay, we're listening to what they're saying, and what they're saying is really bad. Like, it's getting worse, it's deteriorating, outlooks are getting cut, that company's struggling. Okay, that's a suggestion that we're having a bad time at the moment, and the suggestion is it's going to continue to be a bad time for the rest of the year and going forward. And that's what some of those companies are doing. This one that's on your screen right now is a prime example of that one. And then you listen to some other companies, and you listen to some other companies that are going, you know what, it's not great at the moment, but it's okay. What you think, like what's priced into the stock market, from this last few months has been, a massive dip in the stock market. One of the biggest crashes, the biggest crash since, 08, the financial crisis, when the whole banking system was going to collapse. We're currently going through the biggest crash, bigger than CV times, and you look at that situation, a few companies are going, yeah, there's some pain at the moment in the economy, but it's not as bad as what's being made out to be, which has been really interesting. So I think because we've had such a mixture of different views so far, from some businesses saying it's not looking good, and then some businesses going, yeah, it's not great, but it's not as bad as what people think it is. Like, investors and Wall Street seems to be very much like 50-50 on where to go, and I think that's been reflected in the stock market. Like, we've had a little bit of a bounce up, and in the last few weeks, and especially this week, we kind of, we're dropping down a little bit. Today we're having a massive rally because people are going, okay, actually, it's not too bad. And I think that's what's going on at the moment. People are still trying to digest whether we should be lower. It's getting worse out there, or is it actually not that bad? When you look at what some companies are being priced at and the valuations they're at, and some of the companies at the lowest valuation since the 08 financial crisis, like the small caps, the mid caps, and then a few investors are going, it's not that bad, we should be buying the dips here, and then you've just got everyone else going, I'm not sure where we're at. I don't know if it is this bad. I don't know if it's getting better, and I think that's where Wall Street at the moment has, and investors are very confused and unsure where we're heading. And I think that's reflected in share price movements. It's been very volatile. I think that's reflected when you look on every day at the moment. Sometimes we're up a fair bit, and then we're giving it all back, and then we're recovering it all again. So it's been a little bit crazy, and I thought I'd just point a few of them out for you guys that are kind of going on. So one example here would be Walmart. Walmart basically came out with their numbers, and it caused a massive drop off. If we look here, so the Monday came out, boom, down 8%, basically saying, yeah, customers are spending less. And when you start thinking, well, if customers are actually spending less, that's kind of showing that inflation is kind of in that mindset, going out less, spending less, putting less in obviously less traffic, less in the carts. That's obviously going to affect Walmart, and you're thinking, well, that's going to lead to affecting all other companies that, obviously the likes of Target, which I think they did a bit of an outcut in, I think, last month, and any other kind of place with brick and mortar stores. Like, there's less travel out there, then that's going to impact them. So that caused, I think, a bit of pain in the stock market at the start of this week, but it's funny enough that people have been coming in to buy this dip. I've got to say, in my opinion, Walmart at 26 times earnings, I do think it's a little expensive, so maybe that's more of a reason why that one did have a bit of a shock and a bit of a drop off. But that was the kind of first thing that came out with Walmart. Then we went to Shopify. Shopify has been doing bonkers moves this week. So first of all, it came out that they were going to cut down, I think it was 10% of the workforce. This was actually taken really negatively, even though it's probably actually positive for the business, because obviously that's is a good sign that they're kind of, trying to control costs. So it wasn't really going to affect the company that much. But the suggestion is, well, if Shopify are cutting their workforce down, then obviously that means the company's not performing that well financially to justify having that amount of staff on. So that was kind of what caused the stock to go down. And that was also from a message that from CEO saying that he didn't expect the kind of slowdown from the CV situation to get like this. And I think that also one of the key things to be looking out for is something like this, is that one of the big things that I'm concerned about, like the situation gets worse in the economy, in the stock market, is when people lose jobs. And the more you do see these kind of like, these companies are kind of like cutting jobs, that's when for me I start getting worried about where the situation that we're in. Because for me, I think a lot of negativity is being priced in. The only negativity that I don't think is priced in is if we have a massive surge of unemployment. Because when you have a massive surge of employment, that's when you get a deep recession, because people don't have jobs, people can't afford to, even for the basics, never mind other extras, something that might be, a treat, for example. And that is where you start getting really deep recessions. And that's the worrying thing, is like the more I see these companies kind of come out with them statements, the knock-on effect that will have on the broader economy. But then Shopify came out with earnings. Didn't think they were too bad, considering when you look at how much the drop-off is. They were just okay, I think. And then the stock was actually down in pre-market, and I was actually really surprised, because when you normally have a drop like this, a lot of that negativity is already priced in. And I was thinking, especially with a green day, I was like, okay, when this actually opens up, I think this is actually going to bounce. And it has done. So yeah, Shopify is moving all over the place. People trying to balance in loads of different things here. So that was another one just to add it onto the list, along with Walmart. And then onto the next one, we had a company like Visa. Visa comes out with earnings. They basically come out and say they top consensus, and they say everything's going fantastic. We are seeing numbers of volume surpassing 2019 levels for the first time since the pandemic began. Absolutely fantastic. And people are out there spending money. We're very similar to American Express. So you got someone like a Visa going, yeah, everyone's out there spending money at the moment. It's all going well. And then you got a company like Walmart who are coming going, it's not great out there. It was just, total opposite. And I think this is where the market's at, is trying to digest what's going on. It's very similar to like a UPS. UPS come out, and UPS basically, they did really good earnings. The numbers are pretty strong. Good suggestion that the economy is doing well, even though the shares did drop down slightly. And then that was another suggestion of like, it's actually not too bad out there. So I think this is what we're saying, like the market's in limbo, because you're hearing one thing that it's terrible, and it's still pretty bad going into the second half of the year. And then you got some companies coming out and going, it's not actually that bad out there. And I think that while we're still in this kind of unknown or undecided where, okay, things are actually bad or things are actually not too bad, until the market has a general consensus where to go when it has more and more earnings, it just seems to be stuck in this limbo at the moment. So going forward, I think one of the key things will be the more companies that report earnings and listening to what they say. So I think obviously the big one that everyone's going to be looking at tonight is Meta. Everyone's going to be waiting for Meta to report earnings. It'd be interesting. We saw Google priced in that it was going to have a bad quarter, and they were okay. Meta, same again. People looking at a company like Meta, marketing, advertising. Are companies still paying out for advertising? If they are, that's a really good sign. So we're on to Meta now. Meta will be the next kind of 24 hours of really directing the market until we kind of get a general consensus of what's kind of going on here. So yeah, probably the next one's key one to go out and watch out for. But at the moment, it just seems that we're stuck. We don't know where we're going until we get more data, more companies reporting earnings. And I think the next one to be keeping an eye out is Meta when they report tonight. Two other little key things as well. I think that overall, I think the market will be a little bit jittery until probably the next inflation data. And the next inflation data is going to be on August the 10th, and that's going to be for July. The suggestion is, and this is the key thing, is that if inflation peaks, historically it's proven that we go on a bull run. And that's going to be the key thing, because if inflation peaks, that could be the catalyst for the market to start ticking upwards, because as history says, when we do have a peak in inflation, we do well in the economy, because that normally means that obviously interest rates were going to get calmed down as well. So that's probably the key thing that a lot of people are waiting for, because people are starting to factor in that they think inflation's peaking. You look at energy prices right now, they seem to be kind of coming down a bit slightly, especially through the month of what was July. So a lot of people are really starting to think, okay, this could be the peak, and that's also another thing, a factor that's kind of coming in here. One of the big things that will really shock the market is if we do get the July numbers out and they aren't what we're expecting. That's obviously going to probably end up causing a lot of pain for the market. But that will be, if we do get into the August the 10th and then we do have some good inflation numbers that come out, that's also going to be a really bullish sign as well, which you've got to be considering about. So I think that's also something really key to be keeping an eye on. And the last little point I also wanted to make is I wanted to just give a shout out to a mention to PayPal. Having a very good day today, up 9% at the moment. Trading at 27 times earnings, very much off its 52-week low at the moment, which I cannot believe actually touched $67. I don't know what day that was. It must have been around about here, 14th of July. Cannot believe, and look at that, up 23% in 2 weeks. Cannot believe it touched that $67 range. Absolutely bonkers. Like I remember a few years ago seeing PayPal around this $80 mark and thinking, I should buy a big position, and it went on a bit of a run, kept going up and up and up. I was like thinking, if PayPal ever got back to that sub $80 range, I'd love to build a position out, and look what happened here. So yeah, obviously one stock that I own, one that I've been bullish on, one that I've been buying a lot. And positive news that came out today that apparently Elliott Management have taken a stake. You probably would have seen as well, they actually took a stake in Pinterest, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. A bit of an activist investor. The hopes that they'll kind of speed management up to get PayPal back into a really good position. Normally take quite big stakes as well in businesses as well. So clearly investors are very bullish on that. I think it is yet to be confirmed. I'm not 100% sure. It says here that it has been confirmed they have taken a stake, but it's not being confirmed what it is yet exactly. So yeah, that's looking very positive for PayPal, but I just think it's one of those, in a few years time, it's going to be one of those that you look at PayPal and go, do you remember that PayPal was at $67? Like, do you remember that? Like, you're just going to remember it as one of the really good buying opportunities to be potentially buying up in the last few years. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff happening at the moment. We'll see what happens with some of the earnings going tonight. Facebook being probably a key driver, but definitely a very erratic market out there at the moment, especially Shopify. It's been absolutely mental few days. So hope you enjoyed the little update on what's going on right now. Not really too much exactly of where we are going, but a lot of the things that are happening in the stock market, I guess, and my opinions on them and why the market seems very uncertain, I guess, at the moment. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video anyway, guys, and I'll catch you in a bit.